Hey, Kevin Petersen, yo.
What's up? I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm down on the coast. We are Family Matters on Friday due to Jay doing doing what we do, needing to slip into action at the call of slip of a hat, whatever you want to call it. I can't remember the words, but anyway, it's a Friday. Words are not coming to me, but Kevin, how are you doing? You look great for a Friday morning still.
Friday morning, man. I went to did my group workout with my gang and came home and ready for
like a guy like that spins. Are you a spin guy? Do you do
No. I have two total knee replacements. I have titanium knees, so not a lot. I used to do some spinning. I do. It's more of a weightlifting high intensity interval training, and we do a lot of body weight and then a lot of weightlifting, and it's kind of a group fitness program called Tighten Up here in Jack's Beach, and I've been going for a while. I'm trying to take it super seriously this year now that I'm 60.
Wow, you are definitely tightened up, but. I went to a spin class once and it caused me trauma because the instructor kept yelling at me. So,
oh no,
ever go back. But anyway, that's an issue. We can do this offline in our private session. But anyway, I got trauma. Trauma pops up at any given time. But I thought I was in the course of doing what we do in the heart of the treatment center, working with families. I thought, and this family even brought it up and said, this was a good topic for your show. And I said, perfect. Do you want to kind of just run through, we may have done this, I kind of lose track, but do you want to kind of just run through, I know that you break this down in your tremendous book, but kind of you have a family looking for a treatment center, you kind of getting to that point where treatment is necessary. What do they do? Kind of just break down, what should a family do when picking a treatment center?
Great question. Absolutely. There's a couple of things here. I mean, in my book, I do kind of put like a checklist that they should follow through and go through. And it always starts with, we just have to talk about the reality of money. And because it's a question of, do you want to pay cash, which is probably going to be about $1,000 a day. So, if you're going to pay cash, it starts at about probably $30,000. And then, we got to talk about whether or not there's going to be an intervention or detox. So it could be 30, 35, 40. It could be more, it could be less, but that's just the number I think it's intelligent to start with. Or insurance. Now, when I say insurance, you have to be really clear when you're talking to a treatment program and say, are you in network with my insurance? And they're going to want to run your insurance, and they're going to come back to you and say, oh, we checked your insurance and you have this much of a benefit for inpatient substance abuse or mental health or combo treatment. In order to get to that, you have to pay your deductible. So let's say you have a $5,000 deductible. They'll probably tell you, once you meet your deductible, when you show up with your person, you're going to have to give us $5,000, and then everything will be covered. And they will tell you this up front. Everything will be covered for X amount of time. And so that's the first thing that I think it's always important, because I hate when people get surprised. Surprise! It's $20,000. Now, a good family case manager, a good interventionist, a good counselor, a good therapist is going to walk you through the rest of the questions. What kind of treatment are we looking for? Who are we talking about? Are we talking about a 25-year-old man who struggles with cocaine addiction and alcohol, and maybe has some potential mental health issues as well? Great. What we want to find is a place that's licensed for drugs and alcohol, for substance abuse, and licensed for mental health in whatever state they're in. And those are critical elements to find. And then we can talk about what it costs and how we're going to get there. Now, I'm a big fan, and you and I talk about this all the time. I'm a big fan of what we call gender specific treatment, boys with boys, girls with girls. And, in the current world of, gender fluidity and gender identity, there are places that will work with that too. So let's be clear. I'm not talking about how you were born or how you identify. All those things can be worked. Okay. But I think that just limits the distractions and keeps people focused. And sometimes, whoever you're attracted to can be part of the problem. So we probably need to separate you from them as well. So then the next question people will say is, well, what about in-state, out-of-state? Again, your insurance might drive that. Where I live, a lot of people here have what's called Florida Blue. It's a Blue Cross package that only pays in-state, some of them. So, but those are kind of the primary things that we look for. Now, that checklist is in my books. I really encourage families to work with someone like you or I and get a lot of those questions answered. Because like off the top of my head, if I were to come to you and say, hey, Jay, I have a 25-year-old guy that's got Blue Cross, struggling with cocaine and, alcohol and depression, you'd be like, oh, bang, 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 bang. Because we that's the world we live in. We know. We also know, this is the other big piece. I'm sorry, this is a long, lengthy answer.
No, this is really good.
Okay. The other thing to really consider is 30 days is not going to fix anyone. So let's be super clear. 30 days is the beginning. And there's a continuum of treatment. It starts at detox, which can be anywhere up to 3 to 7 days. It goes into inpatient or hospitalization treatment, which is generally 28, 21, 35 days. And then we start stepping down into what's called PHP, partial hospitalization. And these are all, if you're paying through insurance, your insurance will pay at each level a certain amount of time based upon necessity. And that's about 20 hours a week of programming, as opposed to full-time. And then the next step down is what we call intensive outpatient. And that's about 12 hours a week of programming. And then the next step down from that is what we call outpatient, which is just regular therapy. PHP and IOP can be done living in a sober living environment. So when I talk to people today, I say, well, okay, 30 days is a great start, but that's not, I want to be clear, that's not going to fix everything. And I get a lot of families that are like, oh, we've gone to treatment 3 times and then he came home and fell apart. I'm like, well, that's the problem. Let's look at this as a minimum 90 days, maximum a year and a half, not inpatient the entire time, but stepping down. That's where our greater levels of success are. And I think that's kind of those are the primary things to consider: costs, what kind of treatment, and then length of stay and length of service.
Now, families want to, what's your stance on bringing the individuals in? If the individual is agreeing to treatment and they say, like, can the individual talk with, if there's 2 or 3 treatment centers, can the individual talk with them and pick which treatment center they feel most comfortable? Or does the family, do you suggest the family make the decision for them?
There's a couple of different, it's a great question. If the person is going voluntarily and is part of the conversation, and I've had this where the person, it's like a husband and wife, and, one of them is like, they got to go to treatment. And they're like, yeah, I got to go to treatment. I'm like, oh, okay, well, but so I'm definitely willing to give options. I want to be super clear about a couple of things. We don't allow people that are actively using drugs and alcohol to make those decisions. Yeah. Because they don't make clear-headed decisions. I mean, I had one last year where, this was the scenario that the husband decided, I'm going to go here. And when the wife when I started working with the wife, which was kind of after the fact, I was like, I got to be honest with you, he'd be better off here. And they take your insurance. It's going to cost you a lot less and it's going to be a lot better work. And I hate to say it, I was right. It didn't work. This guy didn't stay sober and he really struggled and they spent a ton of money. And I'm like, that's okay. But this is why you lean on people like Kevin and Jay, because this is who we are and what we do. So, but there have been other times when the person is like, yeah, I'll go, I'm in, just sure. What, and they're part of the conversation. And I'm like, a lot of times money kind of drives the decision. So, as much as they want to be like, I'm going to Aruba to Eric Clapton's, Crossroads because I want to be there. And it's like, okay, cool. And, that's actually fairly affordable, but there tends to be all the other parts of the equation have to be met. So I guess I'm kind of a case by case on the answer to that question. More often than not, no, to be blunt, but yeah.
It never hurts to ask questions too. I mean, like Kevin and Jay are amazing people. I'll just say that. I'm a little biased, but I mean, even if you're asking for an intervention coach, consultant, whatever it may be, a treatment center, anything within this realm, it's never. You can always ask questions. Don't feel like you're pressured into it. I know some of these, admissions people at treatment centers, start sending you documents and kind of just, light up your phone and kind of like. It's a used car salesman. I hear that a lot from families. Like they're trying to push you into buying this car, and so don't feel rushed. I know it's chaotic. I know you want to get someone into the detox or safe, but ask questions. Don't feel rushed, and if it feels right, go. But it's always good to have professionals, but don't necessarily go with the first call. Ask questions. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, sometimes if you go to like some of the websites for some of these treatment centers, you get like a pop-up chat. Hey, how can I help you? Do you need treatment? And I had a friend actually back in Denver. It was like, they're buying me an airplane ticket. I just went on the website and next thing I knew I was going to treatment. I'm like, whoa, stop. No. Everybody put the brakes on here.
Yep. And like I always say, like if you're calling a treatment center, go on their website while talking and look at their staff bios. And if you don't see the name of the person you are talking to on the phone, ask them why they are not staff bio, because you probably are talking to a call center, and that's always a good, bad sign. So we got another question wanting to know, basically, do you have any insight on adoption? They have a situation with their 15-year-old, a situation with mom and dad were heavily abusing drugs. There's no kind of communication. They don't really even know where mom and dad are. The 15-year-old is just straight A's and has got this like anti-drug, anti-alcohol kind of mentality. They're just kind of just kind of worry, like they just want to know, kind of just wanting to, like, their stance, like they're just wanting to be the best kind of parents. Do they just let him kind of feel his way around this? Do they the therapy? They're just kind of looking for, there's no signs of trouble, but they just seem like the email is a long email, but like when the mere mention of alcohol and drugs, there's obviously some hatred with mom and dad that he knows the story and is obviously just, get away. And they just want some insight on if should there be some therapy, any insight whatsoever.
So we're talking, so it's the 15-year-old boy has already been adopted?
As a kid, yeah, like 2 or 3 years old.
Okay. And so but the bio parents are alcohol and drug dependent? Okay.
There's no communication, but so the kid just knows that mom and dad gave him up for adoption as real young, and so I think has some resentment. I'm guessing here, but has kind of been resentful of drugs and alcohol, it appears.
Totally understand. Makes perfect sense. Now I get it. So the adopted parents are asking, how do we support our child?
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, definitely. I would say definitely get some therapy. That was actually a population that I worked with when I was in the community mental health center for 3 years. And there are some people that will actually specialize in adoption. I have a great friend in Denver named Kathy McKechnie, who is an LCSW, and she does amazing work with that population, because it's like you and me, right? It's her world. It's her experience, and she does incredible work. There are there's some great support out there for him and for the parents. One of my favorite books, and that is a book called Beyond Consequences for the parents if the kid is struggling. And Heather Forbes wrote that. She's out of Boulder, and she does a lot of like speaking all over the country. But I would definitely get him therapy. Now, the thing about getting him therapy is you want to get therapy. You want him to get therapy with somebody that understands his situation. Just throwing him to any therapist. That now we're kind of back to the earlier question, like, how do you pick a treatment center? How do you pick a therapist? Well, the thing is, I want a therapist that understands what I'm going through. And yes, professionally, but I also would like to know that you kind of know what I'm dealing with personally as well. And that you kind of had a little bit of maybe my struggle and that you get it. And so I think it's okay to look that up. I think if you go to Psychology Today and punch in your zip code and punch in your insurance and you can also punch in the situations that you're trying to address, you're going to get a series of people back to you saying, da, 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 da. And that is the best way of going about it. And I would, by all means, I would offer him some support, offer him some help and say, hey, would you be interested in looking into this? And then, there's also some stuff there's books and stuff out there for kids that are children of alcoholics and children of addicts and help them understanding things. So, yep, absolutely.
Never hurts to be prepared.
Nope.
This question, there's certain questions in the back of my mind when we started doing this show that I, right, wrong, or indifferent, that I've always had waiting for some of these questions to come in, and this is one of them. And sometimes I play whether or not, but this is kind of goes to, we're both in AA, we're both in a fellowship, we love it dearly, and it's one of these questions, so I'll stop with the foreplay. So we have a question with a younger, I think, I want to say 18 to 24. There's no age, but it's a younger-ish. So I go into AA. The parents are saying like this, he seems willing to want to get help. It seems to be in a small town. I don't think there's a lot of options. AA, they say AA groups are the only option in the area without driving more than 60 miles. But when they seem to think that every time he goes into an AA meeting and talks about drugs, there seems to be, according to the son, he's been told to shut up and they only want to talk about drinking at an AA meeting. Mom and Dad want to know if this is true. Have you ever heard of this? And is there a solution? And I do know that this happened, so I want to say that this. I know it happened, so I would like to believe that this is a true situation. So I'm going to stop talking because I have beliefs on this and turn it over to you because they paid $50.
I have a lot of beliefs on this too, a lot of opinions on this. Okay, I totally understand why we have. So let's take a couple steps back.
Yeah.
AA has two different kinds of meetings. We have what are called open meetings, which are welcome to everyone and anyone. Now, that open meeting may have some formatting rules and regulations, like we only talk about alcoholism. If you're not an alcoholic, you're not willing to share, you're welcome to come, et cetera, et cetera. And so each group gets kind of make up their own rules along those lines. Then we have what's called a closed meeting. And a closed meeting is for alcoholics only. And it's like you have to be an alcoholic to be there. And I understand why. When people that are struggling with alcoholism want to talk to other people that are struggling with alcoholism. I totally understand where this kid is coming from, and we're going to get to that. But I also understand that if I walk into a room and I'm an alcoholic and everybody's talking about heroin addiction or meth addiction, I'm like, I don't have that. I never did that. That's not my thing. This isn't helping me. And the reverse is true, right? So this younger generation, and this has been going on for quite a while, a lot of them just don't drink alcohol. It's for a lot of different reasons. One, they don't like it. Two, it's easier to get the drugs. So I get it. I totally understand where they're coming from. I would never be a part of an AA group that would ever kick anyone out that's looking for help, period. End of story. That is not how we roll. That is, and when you take a look at the traditions of AA and how we play, we do not play that way. Now, what may have to happen in that meeting is if it's a closed meeting for alcoholics only, and this guy's like, I'm a meth addict, or I'm a coke addict, or I'm a heroin addict, or I'm a pill addict. My old group in Denver would ask for volunteers, and we would go outside and have a separate meeting, and be like, we're not going to throw you out. We're gonna have another meeting, and we'd always get like we get like a dozen volunteers, and they go have a different meeting, and that was okay, If it's a super small group, I've gone into super small groups, and I'm like, whoops, and someone's like, I'm a meth addict, but there's only 4 of us here. I'm like, oh shit, I don't care. Knock yourself out. We're here to help each other and make sure everybody gets better. That's it. If in your town you want to go to a meeting consistently and you can't find one, I would definitely check, CA, Cocaine Anonymous, because it's not just cocaine; it's cocaine and all mind-altering substances. I would check all the other 12-step programs, and then I would hit the online programs as well and see what's available, because they're there. I mean, if COVID taught us anything, you can access a Cocaine Anonymous meeting that's in Sydney, Australia, if it works for you time-wise. So, and I know that's not the perfect solution. It's not the same as being face-to-face with somebody. But, the old school methodology of shouting down anybody that's not an alcoholic and kicking them out, and I spilled more alcohol. It's like, shut the hell up. That kind of crap doesn't help people. And, that's that. One of the things that AA says is that we're ever inclusive, never exclusive. We have an open door policy. Everybody's welcome. You may have to sit there quietly, but you're welcome to be part of the meeting. And end of story. So I get where this kid's coming from. I believe he's telling the truth, and I would tell him to do a little bit more legwork and find an online meeting for whatever his thing is, and then look for an open meeting and go engage and see what's going on. Yeah.
I would ask the kid to get uncomfortable one time and just go in a meeting and say, like, I know you guys have certain rules, and see if there's anyone, like you were saying, that's willing to meet outside of this and talk about, say, my problem is drugs. I'd be willing to bet that there is some people that would be willing to meet. I wholeheartedly believe with what you do, we can, you can separate, you can split off. I want to believe in the heart of people that there's a couple people in there that will splinter off and have a meeting. So
it better be.
I see the good in all, but last one, and this goes right to my soul, because going back to pre-sobriety, this is how I lived my life. Mom wants to understand that her son continually tells that he does not drink and do drugs to get drunk or high. He does it to feel normal. And Mom thinks that that's just a cop-out. What does he mean by he just wants to feel normal?
Well, that's what alcoholics and drug addicts say. I can
relate to it. I can relate.
I only feel normal when I'm drinking or I'm high. So, I mean, by virtue of his statement, he's in the club.
The alcoholic life was the only normal one.
Yeah, look at that. Who would have thought? So I would very politely tell Mom, first of all, I'm willing to bet this is a mom that's trying to rationalize or reason or discuss. Stop doing that. Get some help from someone like us, and stop trying to explain it to him, and stop trying to reason with him, and just be like, you know what? I love you, but I'm really concerned about your drug and alcohol use. And therefore I've decided, I want you to get some help. the number of times my family tried to talk to me or have a conversation with me, or my friends or my girlfriends or my bosses, and then and it just never. I mean, I was just like, or every time I saw a therapist who's like, hey, I think we need to talk about your drinking. I'm like, oh, this is going to be our last session. We're out of time. And so alcoholics and addicts are super smart and crafty and sneaky, and they know when the jig's up, and so they move on, or they start hustling. So don't try to explain it. Don't try to reason with them. Don't try to rationalize. Just lay it down and say, I love you, and here are the boundaries. And if you want my support, it looks like this. And if you don't, that's okay. That's your position. You're an adult, if you are, and but that's going to come with zero support from me. So,
what is the old saying? When you're dealing with the individual and his addiction, you're outnumbered. Don't even try fighting. So,
yeah.
Anyway, you did good. So, welcome to another Family Matters in the book. So, we'll go right back on time, hopefully next Thursday, unless something else comes up. But keep the questions coming. I truly, my heart skips a beat every time we get questions. And we'll keep firing. And one of these weeks, we'll get Kevin speechless. He won't have an answer to it. But till then, we'll keep at it. The Family Whisperer, Kevin, thanks for your time.
My pleasure, Jay. Good to see you, buddy.
All righty. We'll see you.